Guess we didn't need that part.
Yo, what's up? Welcome back to Never Lost Adventures.
Hey guys, welcome back.
How you guys doing, YouTube? I hope you're well. Today, we have the final part, if you guys have been watching, of the install of the fiberglass. Today, we are installing the front fenders.
You thought we were done, didn't you? Nope. Nope, just halfway through.
So we did the rear because there was so much more that we needed to do, or that I wanted to do. And the front, I mean, they're both pretty straightforward, but I think the fronts are pretty simple. I feel like there's a lot more you have to remove and take off, but I think it's pretty close to the same. But with the fuel door situation and the other pieces and parts that we were doing to the bed of the truck, there was a lot we had to do. As I've said on the bedside video, that I don't know exactly what I'm doing, and every application may be slightly different for each person. So I'm gonna figure it out and do it my way, and then just give as many good options, or let you know what I did and what I didn't like about it, or vice versa. So we're just gonna take it one step at a time, and we'll go from there. Hope you enjoy. All right, so here is the McNeil Racing fiberglass. What did we get? 4 or 6 inch bulge?
4, I think.
4 inch bulge. So that's what she's gonna look like. Super stoked. This is going to allow this tire not to rub down here on the stock side. The tire currently rubs on this bottom side of the fender, and if I really stuff it, it's going to actually hit this body mount support underneath there. So that needs to get cut and then pushed back. Okay, I know mostly the best process to do, well, maybe not the best, but where the direction that I'm going to go, the type of process, what I'm going to remove first, and then so on and so forth. McNeil Racing does do a pretty good job at giving you a description via Word, and then they have a bunch of links to the videos. So for now, I'm gonna remove this plastic. This all needs to come off. There's hardware underneath here. So I'm gonna start with this easy plastic, and then the plastic underneath here. So we're gonna remove that. Then I'll probably go to the lights next. The lights need to be removed. And then there's some hardware directly in here, so the hood needs to pop. There's hardware in this seam back here, and then the bumper needs to be removed, so I'm gonna remove the bumper last. Something that, didn't even see that. This is from stuffing the front tire into this, and then it creased it, and I had no idea it was doing that. The struggle is real. I should just do it the right way. Punch them all in. So one thing I forgot to bring up, 10 mil socket is what you're gonna use for the majority of the hardware. There might be some 12 mil, but I know for the rear it was 10 and 12 only, and then a few Allens. Out with the old. So as we come into here, there's one bolt that's in the center right here on the inside, and the other 2, I believe, or maybe just 1, is on the top side. And then I think there's 5 up top, and a couple right here. So now I'm gonna pop the hood, and we'll do the hood hardware. Well, first I'll go do the passenger side. So this hardware coming out of the back side of the panel, I'm gonna go ahead and keep, because this is the stock hardware that actually goes into the body. And I'm pretty sure I need the same hardware to mount up the McNeil Racing fiberglass. So when installing the new fiberglass, I know it comes down to here, but I think this still needs to be cut. So I'll have to figure that part out, and I have to keep this bumper on here for now. So again, I'm not gonna resell this bumper. It's already pretty damaged. So if I have to, I may just cut this for now until I build the front bumper. Okay, so next, let's go to the hardware underneath the hood. All right, so we have the 3 bolts here for the top, in the top half of the hood. But before I do these, I'm pretty sure they're my last 3 bolts. There might be one down below in here, but we need to take the bumper off so I can see inside of there. But first, I'm gonna go ahead and remove my lights. So I have aftermarket lights, so I just have a bunch of quick connects, and luckily last time I forgot to shrink wrap them, so it makes it a little easier. But now they're dirty, so I'm gonna have to clean them, and when I reinstall, I'm gonna remember to put shrink wrap over them. So I was gonna try to get away with not removing my grill because I can get most of the hardware, but I think I'm taking already a long time, so I'm gonna have to remove the grill. That should be a standard thing. I have a bunch of aftermarket stuff going on and I have a bunch of stuff already ripped out. I think pulling the grill out is part of the process. As you can see, a lot of my clips are just really damaged. 1, this is a 2006. 2, I don't store it inside. 3, I beat the hell out of it. I might keep this piece, I might not, because I'm gonna build a whole new bumper and I might just not even use it and just redo all this. As you can see, but I just have the 2 screws up here, and then all of my mounting has already broken in the past from jumping it. So I literally just had it zip tied. A lot of this stuff is just zip tied, or I'm finding that more brackets are already broken. So this actually goes to my headlight. So we'll just, we'll fix it as we go. Okay, so after I move the top hardware, 3 bolts, this pops out right here. There's nothing else. Just be careful. Again, I'm replacing all of this. So if you're trying to save your bumper, be a little more careful, but that just literally pops out. And again, mine's so old that it's already starting to break, as you can see. So I'm just kind of working from top to bottom. Now I'm removing the small hardware down below at the bottom of the bumper on the inside. This side was already broke, just slid right out. Poor truck. So as you can see, most of my hardware was already gone, or it's already broken. So depending on how old your vehicle is, you may have the same situation. I was correct. There was 1 bolt that holds this fender, but then I just found 2 more that holds it to the frame. So there's actually 3 pieces of hardware. Now 1, 2, and 3 that connect it to this small bracing right here. So all this needs to come off for the fender. First, remove your light. So there's that. 1, 2, 3. Now it's just these last bolts up on top and we should be home free. And it's looking like, yes, everything is 10 mil.
Guess we didn't need that part.
It was already bent and I was just trying to get it a little straighter to unscrew it, and guess I don't need to. If you guys use AM FM, you might just try to figure that out on your own, but I'm just gonna trace the wire and then cut it or unplug it wherever it is at the end, and all this is gonna be removed. I'm not gonna put this back. I haven't used it for years, it's just in the way. Okay, now that we're here, I'm gonna go ahead and clean all this up before I even start getting the fiberglass on there, even though we're gonna repaint the fiberglass and all that kind of stuff. I just want to minimize any scratches or anything like that. Also, I recently reinstalled my stock intake because I had to go get it smogged. And I just left this in here because I knew that I was going to be doing more work on the vehicle, plus it needs to be tuned. So in saying that, that's kind of good, because if you guys have a stock air filter, either you could pull this off, but since I already have all this debris in here, I'm seeing it drop in here. So I mean, it's pretty simple, a quick hose clamp and a quick bolt to remove it, but I'm just gonna be lazy and stick a rag right here. So just be aware of that, because this is your cold air intake, so if anything gets sucked in here, it's gonna get sucked right through. All right guys, so here we go. A little bit of a slide technique. So that's pretty much the fitment. And it looks like you have all three mounting points. The inside one right here, the center tab, and down below. And it's looking like I'm going to have to do some trimming right here, because this needs to be pushed up for this mounting point. And now that I'm here, I'm noticing that there's major flex and spider cracks. That is really liable to break off. And I think we're going to have to repair that from the inside, because I want this outside really smooth. So that's kind of a bummer. Front, you have all your same mounting points. Those 3 bolts here. Looks like this is a little longer than, meaning this piece sticking out right here coming into the engine bay. So I may just want to trim that to get it out of the way. And then these 2 bolts mount up right here, and then you could probably put the 3rd one in right up on top. So as far as hood line goes, that's pretty much right on. So again, every application might be slightly different, but this looks like it's gonna line up pretty good. Like I said, I need to trim that top piece up a little bit, and I think I'm just gonna trim this piece that's coming into the engine bay. It's just sticking out too much and it's not really needed. So we should be good there. And then just make sure this all fits up, and I want to get this as close as possible before I get these, because then I want to be able to stick in my light, and I need to double check this. And so I don't want to drill these holes out until I get my light in here, because this may need to come up or down or flex this fiberglass one direction or the other. So just trying to plan ahead of time. So I went ahead and just dry installed the headlight. Good thing I didn't sand this tab out that I thought was for nothing. It's actually for the light, because this mounting point is only for the fender. It's like missing the line, and then the headlight right here on top is not really truly fitting. It's part of fabrication, it's aftermarket, and it's fiberglass, so it's malleable. So just be prepared to maybe fabricate some stuff on your own and try to figure it out and get everything lined up and dialed in. Kind of a bummer I put on the driver's side before the passenger side, because passenger side is going to need a lot of fabrication. So up here at this point, it's going to need to be ground down. It's hitting the cab, so it just needs to be taken down. And then the mounting points back here are definitely not lined up at all. This whole fender needs to slide forward. Obviously I have a big gap, and this tab needs to be on the front side of the bracket that's right here, and this tab needs to be on the back side of this bracket right here. But this tab, I don't know if you could tell, but it's actually curved back. It needs to be flat. Either I cut it off and I re-fiberglass it, or I fabricate something else in another way. Kind of a bummer though. Alright you guys, so this is driver's side. So I'm going to go ahead and mess with driver's side. It says it fit much better than the passenger side. So this was hitting the bottom side of the windshield where it kind of comes up. So I just need to take this down a little bit so it actually sinks in and it's not actually rubbing and actually touching. It's not supposed to be touching. So just take this down a little bit, and then as I said before, this is that side with that crack. Maybe you'll be able to see it better now. But that's pretty intense, and I don't know if it's just this top coating or if it goes all the way through. This is a fairly thick piece of fiberglass right here, so I don't see that going all the way through. But I guess we'll find out once we put it on for a while. So as you can see here, it took a little bit too much off in this corner, and I could go more there, but it definitely fits much better. It's not rubbing, but this fits much better. And I think I'm gonna leave that. I mean, I could probably smooth this out and just make that curve really nice, but it's fiberglass, it's an off-road vehicle. It's up to your discretion. So in fitment, another thing, let me make sure I'm aligned, to be very, very aware of and careful of is your door alignment, not just your overall reveal. You're gonna wanna open your door and make sure that nothing is rubbing. And then don't pinch your fingers on the backside. So I think, you know, McNeil Racing does a really good job right here. This would be the only part I'd be cautious of on both sides, driver and passenger. I was a little close, but you can tweak and mold the fiberglass, and I would try to get your mounting points as close as possible before you start digging into it, because it may just be the tweak of the fiberglass. So just be aware of that. All right, we're marking holes on the fiberglass. So McNeil does a pretty dang good job at marking. They kind of like leave these little circular indents on the fiberglass, and it's pretty good. But you want to make sure your fitment's good, and remember, this flexes and molds and pushes, and once you get fabrication, or once you get the molds going and you trim and do whatever you have to do, like look at their marking lines, but then just kind of put this into place and then just double check and look on the inside and just try to eyeball it and mark it. And then I use a 16th or 332 drill bit and get the teeniest hole possible, and then I pull it out, or I keep it in there, and then I see where that drill bit is inside the threads, if it's dead center or if it's to one side or the other, and then that way I can compensate, and I know where to compensate when I actually go to drill the bigger hole. What I found is that this strip right here that actually mounts into the panel is that it's not perfectly flat, and so you have to be very careful on how you tighten your hardware. And I recommend just getting your threads in and just barely snug in it and get as close to all the hardware just barely put in, so you can still manipulate the fiberglass. And I would take it, what I did is I did this whole strip first, and then I did this top bolt over here, and then I came down up front, which I'll talk about the light in a second. But just kind of get it in place, because when you tighten this hardware, this pushes down and could make these dimensions different. And same thing with the bottom. So if you were to start from the bottom and you were to, you know, push that bottom piece at a certain angle, then it could throw off all this and then kind of feed down. And so you want to start at the tightest corner, or at least what I did. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way. It's kind of what worked for me, and I went round and round to how many possibilities. How could I get this as straight as possible with still having all my reveals correct from the hood to here, from the door to the fender, and then the light, and make sure everything's good to go. Another thing to be cautious of, once you start to tighten down your hardware, don't go too tight. I accidentally went a little tight on this top bolt over here, and I've already cracked it. So good and bad, because now I know my weak spots, and so that is kind of a good thing. You know where it's thick, where it's thin, where the fiberglass cured at an angle instead of flat, and then you can kind of, if you want to, come back in and make those repairs after everything's tightened and hardened. Coming into this back wall right here, I can stick my finger back there. That's not good, because one, this mounting tab is supposed to be on this side of this mounting tab for the cab. It's pushed all the way back. You can stick my finger back there. And so my thought was to break it off and put it back over here and re-fiberglass it. But after sticking this hardware in here at the bottom and the top bolt from the inside, it's pretty tight. So I might just try to, I don't know, maybe throw a thick zip tie and not pull too hard, but at least, I mean, it's not gonna go anywhere, so I may just leave it alone. But it's something to think about when things just don't line up correctly. It's all aftermarket, it's fiberglass, you're probably going off-road, jumping it anyways. But it's something to think about, because you wanna minimize your pressure cracks and your spider cracks from this flexing and moving on the truck. So you wanna make sure it's tight, but not too tight. So since we had the light in here, I just wanted you guys to see this reveal line. It turned out pretty good as far as the gap, the width of the gap all the way down. Yes, it flares out, and I'll explain that in a second. And then also, in comparison to the door, in and out, it's pretty good right here. This is like perfect. The door sticks out a little bit more, and then it continues to kind of come out a little more, and then the fiberglass kind of tucks in, and then it's pretty close to being the same as far as one being pushing in or out. The reason why I just decided to not fight this reveal and make this gap a little wider is because I wanted my door, I didn't want this sticking out. When I made this reveal better, it forced this piece to kick way out, and I didn't want that. And the fiberglass is already pretty cured. Probably if we would have got it on within the first week or two when they sent it, because they pretty much built it and then sent it to us. And the guy says, you know, it actually takes a solid month for this to get solid, to fully cure. And I think it would have been a little more malleable, maybe, if we would have got it on right away, and maybe some of these problematic spots, they wouldn't have been problematic, but I don't know. So now coming around to the front, what I don't like about this is how this turned out. This piece stuck out quite a bit, and I had to squeeze it down, and then this is another mounting point right here for the light, and then these are sticking out pretty far. So this stud and this stud are in this mounting bracket that's right here. So for now, just to finish the video and to make my point, I'm probably gonna leave this alone and not even put hardware in there. And then when I come back before we paint and I find all the places that I need to reinforce or fix the cracks, I'm probably gonna chop these off and use all new hardware. And maybe in some of these spots, so this is 6mm hardware, I might just go a little bit smaller in some spots and go a longer bolt, and then put a spacer in between the mounting frame and the fiberglass, because I don't want to cinch that nut down all the way where that fiberglass wants to, you know, break. And so it's like there's probably a good 1/4 of an inch in between the fiberglass and this piece. And if I tighten that nut down all the way, it's gonna definitely crack, and I don't want that. So for now, I'll leave it alone, but just be mindful before you just start tightening hardware down, because you could really crack some things like I did up there. All right, you guys, so for video purposes and installation purposes, I think we're just gonna end it right here. I have a few personal things that I want to do before I go too far. Pretty much what you took off stock is you're gonna put the same stuff back on. I need to double check, but if you use your stock bumper, I'm pretty sure McNeil sells a separate piece, or you can get a separate piece that would be missing that makes the front fender connect or flow cosmetically to the front bumper. I'm going to build my own bumper and all that kind of stuff, so I don't even want to stick it back on. And like I said, it's pretty simple. You're just going to be installing your stock hardware. Another personal thing that I am going to do, I think I brought it up here, but looking at all this hardware, I think I'm going to get different aftermarket hardware, something that looks a little nicer, a little newer, gives me rubber and paper washers that will sit in between everything. So that way it's better for vibration and the spider cracks. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just doing a dry / hard fit, and then once I figure out the rest of it, then I'll figure out what kind of hardware I want and then go ahead and install that. So for now, I hope that was a fair amount of information for you guys. It is pretty simple, cut and dry. The main thing that I could say, personally being a fabricator and then this being my first time putting the McNeil front fenders on and then also installing the bed sides, is just take the extra time to get your fitment and placement correct. Even on this passenger side front fender, at the top where it meets the bottom of the windshield, there was an excessive amount of fiberglass and material, and instead of making small marks and just really digging into it, I took it little step by little step. The less I took out, the better it was, because then it showed another reveal and the fiberglass fit differently. So then I had to take down another spot. And then once I got that pretty close to having that fitment, then I just smoothed out all those edges and got that really nice feel. And I still, to be transparent, took a little too much off. But if I could give you any pointers, I would definitely say just take your time. And like, I'm impatient and I just want them on, and especially it's late. I got a lot of stuff to do tomorrow personally. But to sand a little bit, put it back on, get your fitment, sand a little bit, you know, however many times it takes, because it's really gonna matter down the road. And especially if you're jumping your truck, it's gonna get some damage. Or if you're rock crawling, there's a lot of vibration, there's a lot of impact that's happening. And so you just want that fitment correct, so it just forms to the hard sides of what you already have there. That's all I can think of right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next couple builds. Cheers.
Do you get better reception like that?
Yeah, I get way better reception. You know words. I build, you know words.
I know words.
You left brain, I right brain.
That's why we work so well